Hi, and welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Karen Barnes. I'm an accountability coach here at Serendipity Action Coach of Central North Carolina. Look, one of the reasons I'm super excited about our guest, Lou Baldwin, today, he is the CEO and owner of Baldwin Properties, is this is a company that really has at its heart more than just real estate. They're really involved in the community, and I want to explore with Lou not only what it means to be the leader of a company. He has owned this company for 35 years, and he's going to give you a peek inside what does that look like, but what does it really mean to be a community builder in addition to a business owner. So listen, a little bit of housekeeping first. If this is your first time on the channel, you know the buttons you need to hit. You need to hit like, you need to hit subscribe, share this with your friends so that they can learn from our wisdom that we drop here every week as well. So Lou, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for having me, and it's great to see you.
It's great to see you. So tell us a little bit, what does Baldwin Properties do? Give us a little bit of the history and the story of your company.
Our company was founded in 1928 by my grandfather, W.F. Baldwin, and then my father was here for a number of years, and I bought the company about 35 years ago when I was 24 years old. It's always kind of been a family tradition based on a lot of things to kind of do an arm's length sale of the company to the next generation. If the next generation wanted to do that rather than some sort of just handing it down. So it's been hard work for 35 years to build the company, which was much smaller at the time. I think I had maybe 2.5 employees. I've had as many as 22 or 24 employees at a time. Right now, we're at a good number of 16. We had multiple offices at the time that we had 24, so requiring some additional staffing. We specialize in the management, leasing, and sale of commercial and investment real estate. So we really don't hang our sign out as being a residential real estate firm. Certainly some of my people have experience in that, and I don't tell them, no, you can't go do that, but we really try to focus and specialize on the commercial and investment end, be that working with very small investors who maybe own a single family home, and we're totally fine. It's part of the bread and butter of our business to work with those small investors, up to larger investors that may own, I think our biggest owns 195 houses, about 40 multifamily units, an 8-story office building, 4 retail storefronts, 20 office spaces, and a industrial park, one client. So we have the full range, and we try to give them all the same good attention and service as we give any other client. Work a lot with developers.
Yeah. Tell me more
Work a lot with developers, bringing those same services, whether it's helping them acquire property, whether it's creating the idea and recruiting a developer to that idea to team with, or whether sometimes it's actually being a part of the development team.
Oh, very, very cool. Very cool. So I love that you're a third generation business owner, and maybe that's an area, if time allows, we can get into that as well, because there are just, certain unique qualities about family businesses. And as third generation, I know that you have really transformed the business. I was doing a little bit of research on you before we got on, and you have bought or acquired about a dozen other firms.
Yes. So certainly I think family businesses are much of the backbone of America. At the same time, just to be honest on this with you in this discussion, one of the breakthroughs that enabled me to grow the business was to not treat it as a family business, but to treat the key employees and staff members and producers that we were able to recruit as we grew the business, to treat them more as important teammates, and that I'm here to serve them and help them build their career, and that would come back to me. And it's not that a family business can't do that. There's certainly some great ones that do that. But often there's also a thing, well, maybe it's about the family if it's a family business. And I really like it to be about the team and what I can do to help them to grow their careers.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I love that you took that perspective. We're working with a client right now that's a second generation family business, and they can't treat it as a business. Like, it's just too, it is super complicated, and they're very, very, very stuck. But let's talk about your role as that CEO. And you started to talk about that a little bit, about you invest a lot in your team. So if I were to open your calendar, let's maybe say on an average week, how are you spending your time now?
Great question. And certainly that's something as you're growing a business that has to evolve over time. So what I do in any given decade or maybe 5-year period often looks very different than what I did in the previous 5-year period. Some people, because of the volume that we do of property management, say, Lou, wow, you're a property manager. And I say, well, I actually haven't been the lead property manager for one of our accounts since 1996.
That's been a while.
And so that doesn't mean I'm not involved on a day-to-day basis with helping develop new business in property management or help problem solving when it reaches a certain level. But our growth has come from recruiting a good team, having great people on our team, delegating responsibility, empowering them to make decisions, and then being here for them in any way that I can. So certainly a percentage of my time is spent on day-to-day operations of that part of our business, property management. But I would say it's a very little amount of my time, mainly because I've just got great teammates that have been here for a decade up to 50 years and whatnot, and really know what they're doing in that regard. On the sales end of our business, I spend a certain amount of time working with the sales team and whatnot, but I'm not the sales manager. There's a sales manager, there's an assistant sales manager. 3/4 of the brokers are very experienced and don't need day to day. So my role there, and I do spend a certain percentage of my time on it, is mentoring the younger ones, helping them get off to a great start with their career, and then kind of being I've done a lot of different types of deals and had a lot of experience. So I'm here for all the brokers to say, hey, do you know this person? Have you ever done this type of tax credit deal? You know, how does a 1031 exchange work in that regard? And trying to make those connections and play that role. But I spend a large amount of my time working on projects with larger developers, many times that is significant to downtown redevelopment type of projects. Sometimes right now, certainly in the last 5 years, the Budget Inn deal that you've heard about, which was something that I helped to create the concept there, where we bought the Budget Inn at the corner of Peters Creek and Academy, which was a source of a lot of crime and issues in the community, and representing a nonprofit, the Peters Creek Community Initiative under the Shalom Project, complete shoestring. I mean, it just is. We managed to buy a hotel, tear it down. We're grading right now and going to build 60 plus units of affordable housing that'll be beautiful, attractive, and help address a issue in the community. So when I get in the middle of a deal like that and things like that, that's where a lot of my time goes, is helping bring these things to fruition with downtown redevelopment or housing. Currently, I'm very involved in hospitality projects and these historic inns that we're developing, along with a restaurant and event center and that type of thing, end up taking a lot of my time.
Awesome. I love that you are working at that intersection of like where your skills are and where the needs of the community are, right? I mean, isn't that the mark of a good business person, is finding an opportunity and then finding a way to fill it?
I think good business people can be driven by a lot of different things, but it's 100% what drives me. I don't like cookie cutter deals that at the end of the day maybe don't have a whole lot of meaning to them, but result in the paycheck. Probably could have done a lot better financially in my career, but at the same time, I find that if you focus on the doing good, meeting that community need, it's what gets me up and drives me in the morning, and quite often it does lead to something good. And I like sharing with younger people getting in business and whatnot. Some of the bigger deals I've done, all and big aspects of my career, have all grown out of a civic project. So I worked with Peters Creek Community Initiative for 10 years on the community dream of cleaning up the Peters Creek Parkway corridor between Silas Creek Parkway and downtown. I've been in that creek cleaning up trash and junk many times, and on the graffiti crew, and on what can we do to improve this community. And I didn't do a single real estate deal in any of that until a decade into it. And then I did a pretty big one, brokering a hotel sale and helping develop these apartments. And really the same story with downtown redevelopment. I was downtown and working in a civic way with Glenda Keels and the early downtown Winston-Salem Association and these things. And then Mayor Wood appointed me to the Downtown Development Corporation as a young man. And I got to be at the table and learn a lot from the poobahs from the city and from Reynolds and from Wachovia that she had also appointed to the Downtown Development Corporation. But I wasn't doing any deals down there. There weren't real estate deals to do down there.
Right.
The smart commercial real estate guys were out Haynes Mall Boulevard and Stratford Road making money while I was down there. But when it did turn and there actually were deals to do down there, literally, and it's dangerous to call names because I don't want to short anyone, but Richard Redding from Meridian Real Estate, rest in peace, and myself were the only two commercial guys that had been down there really working hard, even when there weren't that many deals to do. And so when there were deals and somebody got the opportunity to help bring the Nissen building redevelopment here,
Absolutely.
Restaurant Row restaurants, Spruce Street Y, MCA conversion from apartments to condos and whatnot, I really got to be in the middle of a lot of things, and I think leapfrog for a period of time some really good folks in commercial real estate because I'd kind of paid my dues downtown as a volunteer.
That is such a great story, Lou, about patience and the patience that is involved sometimes and the importance of building relationships, right? And not trying to rush to a yes necessarily all the time, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to take a little bit of a different tack because you've been in business a long time, but there are probably some things that you would love people to understand more about your business, or maybe some misconceptions. What's one thing or a few things you wish more people knew about your business?
Well, certainly one thing that we're always overcoming is because residential property management has been a mainstay of the business for going on 96 years or whatnot, it can be easy to be put in that box that you're a residential property management company. We're proud of the things that we've done in residential property management and the housing we've provided and the services for investors that we've provided and whatnot. But for a long time now, we've been involved in commercial property management for one, but in commercial investment sales, community redevelopment, development, and been successful in those arenas. But sometimes, you get labeled in one way, it's kind of a hard to brand and move beyond that. And so that's one thing that, I want to be on the radar of the people who have big plans and big ideas, that we're somebody who knows what to do and how to assist them. So for example, we had the opportunity to expand a little bit into Albemarle, North Carolina, a couple of years ago, because I had a large client who was buying a lot of real estate in that area, liked our management services, and wanted us to be there for them. It grew big enough that I was like, well, I'm going to open an office here. So I staffed up a little bit in Albemarle. And what grew out of that is, frankly, those clients moved on and decided, in a different year to have a different strategy, and there wasn't going to be enough growth of that nature. But we did a deal that won CoStar, who is the large nationwide real estate portal for communications and we won their award for the outstanding commercial rehabilitation deal in the Charlotte market for 2023.
Holy cow.
We're putting together a large acquisition of property with a client, renovating those properties and adding quality multifamily, single family, commercial options into the Albemarle market. So, I want us to also be thought of in that way as somebody that can move in, whether it's downtown redevelopment, historic redevelopment, community redevelopment, and be somebody who can help make things happen in that arena.
Well, congratulations, Lou. I hadn't heard about that, but I can tell you that is you are up against some stiff competition because there's a lot of dynamic, it's a very dynamic market in the Charlotte area. It's growing
Yes.
so fast and all those little adjacent metros are growing really fast too. So congratulations. This is really great.
Thank you.
So one of the things that you just talked about, which is your brand, right? Which leads me into marketing, right? So many people think marketing is just a big giant question mark. Don't know how to do it, don't know how much money to spend on it and what to say and who to target and all that. So over the years, what have been some of the more successful marketing strategies that you have employed? Maybe how has your marketing had to change over the years? And maybe even feel free to share with us some things you thought were going to work, but just absolutely tanked.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to claim to be a big expert on that question. As far as I have so many ideas that I wish I had been doing more with how I market my brand or my company. But I do think that in today's world, social media is such a great opportunity. And I'm not really necessarily talking about paid social media, but I'm talking about if I'm involved in the community, if I'm involved in some things with realtor leadership or community leadership or tourism development or historic rehab, if you at least put it out there and let it be known, you're planting seeds with somebody of here's somebody who knows their way around that particular segment of what goes on in our community. And I think I've done enough of those things and planted those seeds, maybe through social media or maybe through speaking engagements or civic club or that type of thing, that if somebody was doing development of affordable housing in this community, I might at least be on their short list of somebody that they call. If somebody was going to do a historic rehabilitation project, hey, not bragging, but I've put it out there that a project I'm involved in won the state and local historic preservation awards last year for in the community and for preservation in North Carolina. You at least plant that seed. So downtown redevelopment and these types of things, it gives us an opportunity to build a brand beyond what direct mail or a lot of forms of paid advertising. They kind of get to see you and what you do and where you spend your time and get to know you. And that's been beneficial to my business as a company. I feel like there's so much more I could have done marketing, but a couple things that I did do were that I recognized when I got out of college at University of North Carolina and I bought this company that I was in an industry full of mom and pop businesses. And that's not an insult in any way. Again, mom and pop and small family businesses are incredibly, incredibly important. But how do you differentiate yourself among Smith and Son and Jones and Son and all the different and Sons that are in your market? And my company was called WF Baldwin and Son after my grandfather. And then they added the and Son when my dad came along, in 1960 or whatever. And as nice as that is, I pretty much ditched that. It's still the corporate name, but by rebranding as Baldwin Properties or the Baldwin Companies, I think I was a little bit trying to say, look at us, we may be a little different than our mom and pop competitors. And then to try to be it with color schemes that have evolved over the time or trying to stay a little bit ahead of the edge on technology. And these things to say, maybe corporate sounds like a bad word, but maybe we're a little more corporate. And what does that mean to you if you want to work with it? Well, with us? Well, it may mean that the property manager and his wife aren't staying up all night on the last night of the month mailing you your statements. Bless them, nothing wrong with that. But as a differentiator that helped me recruit this great team by saying, well, we have an accounting department. So you're not staying up and printing the statements and doing that type of thing. They're doing that. And we actually kind of have a little marketing setup going on here. So we're going to help build the business. So you don't have to do that. And then not to mention group health insurance, 401k and things like that, that a small mom and pop business don't have. And so That's been something in the branding, I think, that's been a differentiator and helped us to outgrow a lot of our competition and some of the different things that we do, because we did try to hold ourselves up as more professional, more corporate, and bringing more of that type of resource to the table for our clients. And then, how do you brand it? How do you communicate that?
Love it. Love it. So let's sort of think back over your last 35 years, if you can think back that far, right? And what are some of the biggest hurdles that you've encountered, and how did you jump over them or dig around them or knock them down? Like what's some of the tough spots, honestly, that you've encountered?
Sure, absolutely. You work a lot with small businesses, and capitalization has certainly been one that I've, throughout this time had to really try to focus on. And as you know, the real estate market has its ups and downs and cycles. And
Yes.
we all tell ourselves, oh, things are good right now, I'm going to suck away money to be able to do what's next. And then, you never think it's really going to end. And all of a sudden, those interest rate goes up or COVID hits or whatever happens. And it does. So I've not been immune to any of those cycles. I've also been somebody who I just think growth. I think growth all the time. That's the thing that also motivates me. I'm not how do we stabilize, as well as I am how do we get bigger next year and do more and help more people and serve more people and whatnot. And so I haven't been afraid to get out ahead of the curve, take risks and whatnot. And there always is risk in taking risks. So that's been, if I had to describe the biggest challenge, it's been kind of keeping up with the capital and cash flow needs of being entrepreneurial, taking risks and whatnot. Probably could have, should have, would have emphasized that part of my business more in my decision making process, instead of that looks important and fun and good and a way to spend my time, I'm going to do that. The full financial business implications and plans of those things. So, as you know, because you've got an incredible career working with startups and whatnot as well. I mean, these things aren't cliche. The risk involved in business or in taking on a new development or any of these things, that's not just a cliche. It's a real life challenge that entrepreneurs live with
Every day. And it doesn't matter if you're a 1-year-old business or a 10-year-old business or a 35-year-old business. There's always sort of those moments that just make your stomach clench. And you've got to, as you probably have learned how to navigate and roll with that uncertainty. And learning how to manage through that is incredibly important skill to have. So let's sort of look forward now, right? So what's next for the next 3 to 5 years? What you said, I'm always thinking growth, right?
Yep.
So what's exciting you right now? What's on the horizon?
A lot of my top things right now, I mean, number one, I always have to focus on Baldwin Properties. And, if you've been around a long time, then you start thinking about who's going to retire when and different things like that. So you always have to be bringing along new people and bringing them up and taking on more and more responsibility in the business in order to last 94 years, right? In order to head toward that 100th celebration down the road and whatnot. Constantly, you gotta take that seriously too. Of thinking about that and this operating business. You mentioned at the beginning of this podcast the roll up that I've essentially done, acquiring smaller businesses over time, and one of the things about doing that is we've developed a kind of a reputation, at least in that part of our business, as being who's here to do that. Well, now I'm 60 years old and I'm still going strong and dreaming big. But you also have to think a lot of times when you do an acquisition like that, there's a period of time for that to pay for itself and to come about. So you have to think, is that, do you do that next one? Do you do the next two of those types of opportunities that come along? And my answer is usually yes, but you just may need to think about it more carefully than when I was 30 or 35 and say, well, we got plenty of time for that to pan off and take time. I've really entered and via real estate completely. And I consider it so tied to my business, but we're really deep in the hospitality business right now with the
Hmm.
acquisition over the last 4 years of the Summit Street Inns with partners. So our company was involved, as we talked about on the development side, with finding these properties and negotiating them and whatnot. But they operated as a separate company in which I have partners. But we got the Summit Street Inns, in which we did a 4 year renovation of
Wow.
those properties during COVID, during escalating cost of supply chain and all the things we all hear about. So that was quite an undertaking, rewarding for those historic preservation awards that I mentioned, but also, a startup business. And we acquired the Schaffner Inn in the middle of 2021, on which more people are familiar with because it's been open a long time. Developed by a great entrepreneur, Betty Falls, and her husband, and open for 30 plus years. And we acquired it from them, and have, certainly done some renovations and things there. But all in all, that inn business is something that's not managed before, and that my partners and I essentially look at it as a startup. We're having to build a new historic inns business in town. And then we have an event center out of there, and that's an important part of our business model. And we opened Founders Restaurant, so we own Founders Restaurant that's in the Schaffner Inn. Please come on out, support local business, staycation at the inns, put your family up when they come to town for holidays at the inns. Think about us for, we have great wedding facilities at both places, indoor or outdoor. Some law firms have thrown some really big client or attorney parties there this past Christmas, that type of thing. But it's important to support local business. That's another thing that's not just cliche. Yeah, all of us that are taking risk and creating businesses like that, we need your business, and we need you thinking. Go to brunch at Founders on Saturday, or put the in-laws up at Summit Street Inns this weekend.
You're exactly right. I was just speaking to a group of about 15 or so local business owners in High Point this morning. And, all of them are just, the money stays here. How important it is. It's creating a more thriving community. And isn't that ultimately what we all want for our businesses, is not for only our families to thrive, but our team and their families. And you just multiply that, and it just builds a more beautiful, resilient community. That's the beautiful
Absolutely.
thing. And what a gift for you, after 35 years, to be able to have a growth edge on a new dimension of your business around hospitality, right? I mean, that's got to keep you really excited and involved and on your toes, and still learning more all the time.
Absolutely. It's really starting 3 simultaneous startup companies, though, and
Yeah,
as
that's
well
about
as
too
anyone,
many.
startups go through. So it's a challenge every day while keeping this other business going and being involved in some other community challenges and whatnot. But yeah, it is what I thrive on.
I
So,
love it. I love it. Well, let's change the energy here a little bit. I'm going to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions. I just want you to give me like the first thing that comes to your mind.
all
Short
right,
answer. You ready?
sure,
Right. It's like a game show, Lou. Here we go.
all right.
What is the key to success for Lou Baldwin?
Being in the arena, being involved.
Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the
Yes,
arena.
it's
Yes.
definitely one of my life uh, verses there. And just to say, when I was president of the North Carolina Realtors, you get to have a theme. And I went around the state talking about realtors in the arena, that we need to be
Nice.
involved in our community and making a difference in these things, involved in the political arena, whatever it may be, and honoring those folks that are. And and to me, it is part of having a successful career and thriving on something, is to putting yourself in there. And you're familiar with the quote, as you just said, so it doesn't ignore the fact that there's blood and sweat and tears and failures, but you're in the arena.
That's right. I love that. It's one of my favorite quotes as well. Teddy Roosevelt's one of my heroes.
Excellent.
What is your best piece of advice for other business owners?
Great. I think it's something that I mentioned earlier. Try to go at it with a a bit of a servant attitude, turn it upside down from the old hierarchy of the big boss sitting at the top and whatnot. I hope the people I work with look at it as that my job is to help them, and that in turn comes back around to me. Same thing with working with clients or customers or whatnot. So that'd be my advice. Look outward at others. Don't spend your day thinking of what could they do for you. I'm not going to do a Kennedy quote right after doing a Roosevelt quote.
I thought that might be coming though, since we're doing presidential quotes.
Right.
So this is my favorite question to ask, which is, if you had a magic wand and you could wave your Harry Potter wand over any area of your business and poof, it could fix anything, what would you fix?
Well, now I'm about to go to a much more practical answer, but it would be consistent cash flow. That's not a very glamorous answer, but that would be the answer, to kind of master that a little more. Instead, I'm always taking on startups and taking on challenging projects and trying to work to there for better or for worse. So that's a very mundane and practical answer, but that would be the honest answer, is consistent cash flow.
First of all, I totally appreciate your honesty. Second, not the first time we've had that answer. There are so many businesses that are seasonal. Real estate, construction definitely go through cycles, and it is tough. It's really tough to figure out what's going to happen from quarter to quarter in a lot of cases. And as you talked before about, the incredible price increases that came along the supply chain for construction, I'm sure that was not at all in your budget for those
Correct.
projects. And you just have to adapt and adjust and do the best you can. All right, so last question for you, Lou. What is most inspiring to you right now?
I'm inspired by, there's a lot. I have kids that just graduated from high school and are making another one, making a career in LA. And I'm certainly inspired to, want to be around and see what these guys do with their lives. And so that's very inspiring to me. But I really do. I fell in love with Winston-Salem a long time ago, even though I've lived here all my life. And I'm really inspired by what we can be. And, I hear little things like the best mid-size city in America or whatever from Mayor Joines or Mark Owens or whatnot. And, every town or city has their goal or their slogan, but I kind of get excited about it. I'm like, well, I think we are the best. We need to make sure folks know that. So I get very, very involved in that on the state level too, with economic development through the North Carolina Realtors or leadership through them. I'm going next year to France to the MIPIM conference, which is the largest economic development and real estate conference.
Oh,
and
cool.
The realtors are sending me there to say, let's go pitch North Carolina and see if we can bring some more companies in and that type of thing. So I just get motivated by that and what it means to everybody in our city. When I speak on a economic development forum or whatever, I say, let's remember when we're complaining about inflation or these different things, what it means if you don't have hardly any income and your rent's going up the way rent's going up right now, or the cost of food is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who, it's tough on business, but it's a lot tougher on some other folks in our community. And I think that's something that we've always got to, it's hard to be inspired by sometimes, but I am. If we have the opportunity to provide housing for some folks, and we've done that a lot in the case of refugees through World Relief and others, and in the case of homeless people through various things, I'm inspired by that. Any opportunity any of us have to touch the challenges in our community, the toughest challenges, and make a difference.
That's beautiful. So many people don't look at social problems as business opportunities. And I think that's a mistake, because some of these are pretty entrenched problems. And if you can work at that intersection, right, of bringing the power of business to address this solution, a lot of times really beautiful things happen, as you know. So
I wonder if that might be a big part of the solution to some of those social issues, if we found a way to to make all that work together.
Hey, listen, I share your love for this city. It's changed dramatically since I was growing up here. And honestly, I think some of you have maybe heard me say this. I grew up here. I graduated high school here and got out as fast as I possibly could because it didn't feel like there was much here for me. But I moved back with my partner in 2000. And it was just, I said, look, we're going to come back because it's a different city. And we're not going to hang out with the same people I grew up with, but we just kind of are going to know our way around a little bit. And here we are, 24 years later, and the place is still growing and changing in front of our eyes, and it's very inspiring to me today as well.
Well, I love hearing that, and you've made a big difference with the things that you've involved yourself in, and as part of the culture of our community, that's really coming together to hopefully produce great things.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lou. I really enjoyed our conversation today. Stick around. We will follow up on a couple of things, but hey, you there. Thank you for hanging with us through this awesome dynamic conversation with Lou Baldwin. Listen, I want to see you hitting those like buttons. I want to see you back here for the next time we drop one of these amazing conversations, and take some of this very practical advice that you've just heard and learned from Lou and put it to work in your business today. This is not just, theoretical stuff that we're talking about here. This is about you taking action. So I will see you soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Karen.